Ambassador Sarah Chun sat in the large meeting room and looked around at the strange faces staring back at her. The room was huge, with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. Dozens of alien beings sat in a circle, each one different from the next. Some had blue skin, others had tentacles instead of arms, and a few looked like giant insects with shiny shells. Sarah had been coming to these meetings for 3 long years. Every month, she would travel from Earth to this space station where the Galactic Council met. Every month, she would ask for the same things. Every month, she would go home with nothing. Today felt different, though. Today, Sarah was tired of being polite. The Zephyrian delegate was talking again. His name was something long that Sarah could never say right, so she just called him Crystal Face in her mind. He looked like a tall human made of blue crystal, and light would shine through him when he moved. Right now, that light was flashing in patterns that meant he was annoyed. The humans ask for too much, too fast. Crystal Face said through the translation device that turned his musical sounds into words Sarah could understand. They have only been in space for a few hundred years. Other species have been here for thousands of years. Humans must wait their turn. Sarah felt her hands make fists under the table. Wait their turn? Humans had been waiting for 3 years, just to get basic rights that every other species already had. They wanted to use the big trade routes that connected different star systems. They wanted to start new colonies on empty planets. They wanted to have a real voice in the council, instead of just being allowed to watch. The Ultramarine High Chancellor nodded his big head. He looked like a cross between an elephant and a tree, with gray skin that had bark-like patterns. His species was one of the oldest in the galaxy, and they never let anyone forget it. Young species must learn patience, the Chancellor said in his deep, slow voice. Humans should be grateful that we allow them to observe our meetings at all. Many species had to wait centuries before they were given even that honor. Sarah stood up so fast that her chair made a loud scraping sound. The room went quiet. All the alien highs and sensors, and whatever else they used to see, turned to look at her. Grateful? Sarah said, her voice getting louder. You want us to be grateful? The translator device on her chest turned her words into dozens of different sounds. Clicks, whistles, electronic beeps, and musical tones, so all the aliens could understand her. Let me tell you what humans have done in the past 3 years while we waited for your permission to exist, Sarah continued. We built hospitals on 6 different worlds and saved thousands of lives. We taught 3 species how to grow crops on planets where nothing would grow before. We stopped 2 wars just by talking to both sides like adults instead of children. The insect-like Klaxi representative made a chittering sound that meant agreement, but the others stayed silent. Sarah walked to the center of the circle. Our ships carry your goods across space because human pilots are the best navigators in the galaxy. Our doctors work in your medical stations because humans can treat species that your own doctors gave up on. Our engineers fix your machines because humans see problems differently than you do. Crystal Face's light flashed angry red. Humans think too highly of themselves. You are useful, yes, but not necessary. We managed without you for millions of years. Did you? Sarah asked. Because from where I stand, it looks like you need us a lot more than we need you. The Chancellor made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. Foolish human child. You forget your place. Without the Council's protection, how long would your little colonies survive? Without access to our technology, how would you travel between stars? Without our trade agreements, what would you eat on those empty worlds you are so eager to claim? Sarah smiled, but it was not a happy smile. You really think we are that helpless, don't you? She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. When she pressed a button, a hologram appeared in the air above the table. It showed star charts, ship designs, and production numbers that made several aliens gasp. This is what humans have been doing while you made us wait in your lobby. For 3 years, Sarah said, we have been building our own trade routes. We have been making our own ships. We have been growing our own food and mining our own metals. We even figured out how to travel faster than your best ships. The room erupted in noise. Aliens were shouting in their own languages, making the translation devices screech and whistle as they tried to keep up. Some were angry, some were worried, and a few looked impressed despite themselves. Crystal Face stood up, his whole body flashing bright red. This is impossible. Humans do not have the knowledge or resources for such things. We do now, Sarah said calmly. Turns out, when you stop wasting time asking for permission and just start working, you can get a lot done. The Chancellor leaned forward, his small eyes focusing on Sarah. What exactly are you saying, human? Sarah looked around the room one more time. 3 years of sitting in this same chair, listening to the same excuses, being treated like a child, asking adults for candy. 3 years of watching her people work twice as hard as anyone else just to get half the respect. I am saying that the Terran Federation is done with this council, Sarah said, her voice carrying clearly through the sudden silence. We are withdrawing from all talks. We are canceling all agreements. We are going home. The noise that followed was unlike anything Sarah had ever heard. It was like every alarm in the galaxy going off at once. Aliens were jumping up from their seats, waving arms and tentacles and whatever else they had. The translation devices could not keep up with all the shouting. You cannot do this. Crystal Face screamed, his light flashing so bright it hurt to look at. You need us. You are making a terrible mistake. The Chancellor boomed. Without the Council, humans will be alone in a dangerous galaxy. But Sarah was already walking toward the door. Her security team, 2 tough-looking humans in black uniforms, fell in step behind her. They had been waiting for this moment as long as she had. Wait, called out the Claxi representative. Perhaps we can discuss new terms. Perhaps humans deserve more consideration than we previously thought. Sarah stopped at the door and turned back. You had 3 years to show consideration. You chose to show us the back of your hand instead. Now we will show you what humans do when we stop asking for permission and start taking action. She walked out, and the door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. Through the thick walls, she could still hear the aliens shouting and arguing as Sarah walked down the long corridor. Toward her ship, she activated her communication device. This is Ambassador Chun to all human stations and ships. Operation Independence is now active. All personnel are to return to human space immediately. Cut all ties with Council operations. It is time to show the galaxy what humans can really do. Behind her, the Council chamber descended into chaos. In front of her lay the unknown, but Sarah was not afraid. Humans had faced the unknown before and turned it into something amazing. They would do it again. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans walk away from the table, they do not just go home and sulk. They go home and build something better. Captain Marcus Torres watched the stars through the viewport of his ship and waited. His fleet of 30 human vessels hung in space at the edge of Council territory like a wall of steel and light. Every ship was ready for battle, but Torres hoped it would not come to that dot. His communication officer, Lieutenant Park, looked up from her station. Sir, we are getting more messages from Council ships. They want to know why we are not responding to their calls. Torres smiled. Let them wonder. We have our orders. 6 hours had passed since Ambassador Chun walked out of the Council meeting. 6 hours since every human in Council space received the same message. Come home now. Torres had been amazed at how quickly his people responded. Human traders left their cargo behind and headed for human space. Human doctors walked out of alien hospitals in the middle of surgeries. Human engineers shut down the machines they were fixing and went home. The aliens were starting to panic. On the planet Vorthan Prime, mining operations had ground to a halt. The Vorthans were good at digging holes, but they had never learned how to operate the complex machines that separated valuable metals from ordinary rock. For 5 years, human engineers had run those machines. Now the machines sat silent and dark. Foreman Vex stood in the control room and stared at screens full of red warning lights. His thick, rocky skin was turning gray with stress. The humans had taught his people which buttons to push, but they had never explained why those buttons mattered. Without the humans, the Vorthans could dig up rocks, but they could not turn those rocks into the materials their civilization needed. Where did they go? Vex asked his assistant. The humans were here yesterday. Today, nothing. His assistant, a younger Vorthan named Cole, checked the communication logs. They received a message from their government. Then they packed their things and left. They would not say why. Vex picked up a piece of valuable metal ore. It was worth a fortune, but only if they could process it correctly. Without the humans, it was just a pretty rock. Send a message to the human embassy. Tell them we need them back. Tell them we will pay double. I tried, Cole said. The human embassy is closed. They left a message saying all humans have been recalled to Earth space for urgent consultations. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. Dr. Sarah Kim had been working at Central Medical Station for 2 years. The station served 15 different alien species, and Dr. Kim was the only doctor who could treat them all. Humans had a gift for understanding how different bodies worked, even alien bodies. While other species could only treat their own kind, humans could figure out medicine for anyone. When the recall order came, Dr. Kim was in the middle of treating a Klaxi warrior who had been poisoned by a plant on an unexplored world. The warrior's body was shutting down, and Dr. Kim was the only one who knew how to help him. She looked at the Klaxi lying on the medical table, then at the message on her communication device. The message was clear. All humans must return home. I'm Edi-Ately. Dr. Kim made her choice. She stayed to save the warrior's life. But as soon as he was stable, she packed her bags and left. The alien doctors begged her to stay, but she just shook her head. I have orders, she said. I am sorry. The head of medical operations, a tall Altrian named Dr. Finn, followed her to the shuttle bay. You cannot leave now. We have patients who need your help. Without human doctors, some of them will die. Dr. Kim stopped at the door to her shuttle. Then maybe you should have treated humans better when you had the chance. The shuttle door closed behind her, leaving Dr. Finn standing alone in the empty bay. On the trade station at Nexus Point, chaos was erupting. Nexus Point was the busiest shipping hub in the galaxy, where goods from 100 worlds came together to be sorted and sent out again. The system was incredibly complex, and it only worked because human logistics experts had designed it. Station manager Zell was a Zephyrian, like Crystal Face from the Council. His crystal body was flashing orange with panic as he watched cargo ships pile up around the station. More ships arrived every hour, but none were leaving. Where are the human traffic controllers? Zell demanded. His assistant checked the duty roster. They all left this morning. Something about a family emergency on Earth. All of them? At the same time? Zell's light flashed brighter. This cannot be a coincidence. What do we do with all these ships? The assistant asked. We have over 300 vessels waiting for clearance to dock or depart. Zell looked at the screens showing the traffic around the station. It looked like a 3-dimensional puzzle made of ships and cargo containers. He had watched the humans manage this puzzle every day for years, but he had never bothered to learn how they did it. Try to contact Earth, Zell said. Tell them we need our human staff back immediately. But Earth was not taking calls from Council species. President Martinez sat in his office on Earth and watched reports coming in from across the galaxy. Every human ship, every human worker, every human diplomat was coming home. It was the largest evacuation in human history, and it was happening exactly as planned. General Harrison, head of Earth's military, stood beside the president's desk. The Council is trying to contact us on every channel we have. They want to know what is happening. Let them wonder, President Martinez said. How long until all our people are back in human space? Another 12 hours for the farthest ships. Harrison replied, The Council fleets are starting to move. They might try to stop our ships from leaving. President Martinez nodded. That is why we have Captain Torres and his fleet waiting at the border. Any Council ship that tries to stop a human vessel will get a very unfriendly greeting. On the bridge of his flagship, Captain Torres was getting reports from his scout ships. Council fleets were indeed moving, but they seemed confused and disorganized. Some were heading toward human space. Others were rushing back to their own worlds to deal with the crisis there. Sir, Lieutenant Park said, we are receiving a transmission from the Alturian fleet. Admiral Grax wants to speak with you. Torres had met Admiral Grax before. The Alturian was old, even for his long-lived species, and he was not stupid like some of the Council politicians. Put him through, Torres said. Admiral Grax's face appeared on the main screen. His elephant-like features looked tired and worried. Captain Torres, what is the meaning of this withdrawal? Are humans abandoning their allies? What allies? Torres asked. The Council has made it very clear that humans are junior partners. At best, well, junior partners can choose to leave the partnership. You are making a mistake, Grax said. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are threats out there that require all of us working together. Torres leaned back in his captain's chair. Funny how the Council only remembers that humans are useful. When we are walking away, what do you want? Grax asked. What will it take to bring humans back to the negotiating table? That is not my decision to make, Torres said. But I can tell you this. The old way of doing things is over. If the Council wants human cooperation in the future, they are going to have to offer something better than scraps and empty promises. The transmission ended, leaving Torres staring at the stars again. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the retreat of human forces and the growing chaos in Council space. On Earth, President Martinez was addressing the human people. His speech was broadcast to every human world and ship in the galaxy. My fellow humans, he said, today we took a stand. For too long, we have accepted second-class treatment from species who needed our help, but would not give us respect in return. Today, that ends. The President looked directly into the camera. We are not abandoning our friends. We are walking away from those who never were our friends in the first place. Humans will forge their own path among the stars, and we will welcome anyone who wants to walk that path with us as equals. Across human space, people cheered. They had been waiting for this moment, waiting for their leaders to show the galaxy what humans were really capable of. The Council had made their choice. Now they would live with the consequences. 3 weeks had passed since the humans walked away, and the galaxy was falling apart. Admiral Kess of the Regelian Collective sat in her command center and watched the reports coming in from across Council space. Her people were not members of the Council, but they had been allies with both the Council and the humans for many years. Now she had to choose sides. The reports were bad. Very bad. Food riots on Alturian colony worlds, her intelligence officer reported. Their farms cannot grow enough food without human agricultural technology. They are asking the Council for emergency supplies. The Council does not have emergency supplies, Admiral Kess said. Most of their food comes from worlds that use human farming methods. Her officer nodded. The Vorthan mining operations are still shut down. They are offering huge rewards for any human engineers willing to come back, but no humans are answering their calls. Admiral Kess stood up and walked to the large window that showed the stars outside. What about the smaller species? The ones the Council keeps under their control? That is where things get interesting, the officer said. The Tau-Cetians have declared independence from Council oversight. They say if humans can walk away, so can they. The Procyon Union is talking about doing the same thing. Admiral Kess was not surprised. The Council had always ruled by making smaller species dependent on them. But if humans could show that independence was possible, other species would want to try it too. Send a message to Earth, Admiral Kess said. Tell them the Rigelian Collective wishes to discuss new agreements. Agreements between equals. On the Council homeworld of Alturia, High Chancellor Groot stood in his office and tried to understand how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. Just 3 weeks ago, the Council had controlled half the galaxy. Now rebellions were breaking out on a dozen worlds. His aide, a nervous young Altruian named Tim, brought him the latest reports. The Tau-Cetians have seized the Council garrison on their homeworld. They are demanding that all Council forces leave their territory. Groot's massive head turned toward Tim. How many ships do the Tau-Cetians have? Maybe 50 small vessels. Tim replied. But they are being supplied with weapons by someone. Our intelligence thinks it might be the humans. The humans are arming rebels now? Groot slammed his fist on his desk, making the whole room shake. This is an act of war. Tim looked down at his tablet. Sir, there is more. The Procyon Union has announced they are leaving the Council. The Centauri Free Traders have canceled all their contracts with Council worlds, and the Klaxi Hive worlds are requesting immediate talks with Earth. Groot felt old, older than his 800 years. What do our military commanders say? Admiral, Zon thinks we should send fleets to force the rebels back into line, Tim said. But Admiral Dex says we do not have enough ships. Too many of our vessels are stuck in space because human mechanics are not there to fix them when they break down. The truth was becoming clear to Groot. The Council had been so focused on keeping other species under control that they had forgotten how to do things for themselves. They had let humans handle the difficult jobs because humans were good at them. Now the humans were gone, and the Council was helpless. Set up a meeting with the other Council leaders, Groot said. We need to discuss bringing the humans back. But some Council leaders had other ideas. Lord Nexus of the Zephyrian Empire was not interested in asking humans for anything. He stood before the Zephyrian War Council in his crystal palace and outlined his plan. Humans think they can embarrass us and walk away, Nexus said, his crystal body flashing angry red. They are wrong. We will show them what happens when a young species challenges their betters. The other Zephyrian lords listened carefully. Their species had ruled vast portions of space for thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. They were not about to be dictated to by upstart mammals. What do you propose? Asked Lady Vel, her blue crystal form reflecting the lights of the war room. We mobilize the war fleet, Nexus said. We take human colonies by force. We show the galaxy that the Council is still powerful. Once we control human worlds, they will have no choice but to return to the talks on our terms. General Zix, the head of Zephyrian military forces, stepped forward. Our fleets are ready. We can strike human colonies within days. But Lady Vel looked worried. What if the humans fight back? Their ships performed well in the border conflicts 5 years ago. They have 30 ships, Nexus scoffed. We have 300. Numbers do not lie. What Nexus did not know was that human intelligence had been watching Zephyrian fleet movements for days. Captain Torres had moved his ships to better positions, and he was not alone anymore. The Rigelian Collective had sent 20 ships to support the humans. The Centauri Free Traders had contributed 15 more. Even some smaller species that had broken away from the Alpha Council were offering help. Torres stood on his bridge and watched the tactical display. The Zephyrian fleet was moving toward the human colony at New Texas, just as his spies had predicted. "Sir," Lieutenant Park said, "Admiral Kess of the Rigelians is requesting permission to join our battle formation." "Granted," Torres said. "Signal all ships. We are going to show the Zephyrians what happens when they threaten human civilians." On New Texas, Colonel Maria Santos was preparing her people for what might come. The colony had 50,000 humans, mostly farmers, and their families. They were not soldiers, but they were tough people who had built a new world from nothing. "How long until the fleet arrives?" Santos asked her communications officer. "Captain Torres says 6 hours, came the reply. "The Zephyrians will be here." "In 8 hours, Santos nodded. That gave them time to evacuate the civilians to underground shelters. But she was not planning to just hide. New Texas had defenses that the Zephyrians did not know about. Meanwhile, the crisis was spreading beyond military action. On the Klaxi Hive worlds, Queen Zara watched her people slowly starving. The Klaxi were insect-like beings who lived in massive underground cities. They could grow some food in their tunnels, but not enough to feed billions of individuals. For 20 years, they had relied on human agricultural experts to help them grow food on the surface of their worlds. The humans had taught them which crops would grow in Klaxi soil and how to modify the plants to be more nutritious. Without human help, the crops were failing. "How long before food riots begin?" Queen Zara asked her advisor. 2 weeks, maybe 3, the advisor replied. "Our people are already hungry." Queen Zara made a decision that would shock the council. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them the Klaxi Hive worlds are withdrawing from the council. We want to negotiate directly with humans." The message reached Earth just as President Martinez was meeting with his cabinet. The news that one of the council's founding members was abandoning them sent shockwaves through the room. "The council is breaking apart faster than we expected," General Harrison said. "Our intelligence reports that 6 more species are considering independence." "What about military threats?" Martinez asked. "The Zephyrians are moving against New Texas," Harrison replied. "Captain Torres is moving to intercept them. This could be the first real battle." Martinez leaned back in his chair. "Make sure Captain Torres knows he has full authority to defend our people. And send a message to every species watching this conflict. Tell them that humans protect their friends and punish their enemies." On the edges of the galaxy, something else was stirring. The Devourers, a race of creatures that consumed entire worlds, had been held back for centuries by the combined fleets of the Council. They lived in the dark spaces between galaxies and only came out when they sensed weakness. Now they sensed opportunity. Devourer ships, like as space itself, began moving toward the outer worlds of Council territory. They had been waiting for the Council to show weakness. The sudden chaos in Council space was exactly what they had been hoping for. Scout Commander Fix of the Ultrian Border Patrol was the first to spot them. His small ship was patrolling the edge of known space when his sensors detected something moving in the dark. "Base, this is Scout 7, Dix reported. "I am detecting multiple large contacts moving toward the Epsilon sector. Configuration unknown." The reply came back immediately. "Scout 7, investigate and report." But as Thix moved closer to the unknown contacts, his blood turned cold. He recognized the ships from old military training files. Ships that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. ships that had not been seen for over a century. "Base, this is Scout 7, Thick said, his voice shaking. "The Devourers are back. I count at least 50 ships, possibly more. They are heading for the outer colonies." The message reached Council headquarters within minutes. Suddenly, the problems with rebellious colonies and missing humans seemed much less important. The Devourers were back, and the Council's fleets were scattered and weakened. High Chancellor Groot read the report and felt fear for the first time in decades. The Council had always been able to fight off the Devourers because they had worked together. Now they were fighting among themselves, while humanity, their best military allies, had walked away. "Get me a communication line to Earth," Groot ordered. "Tell them we need to talk. Tell them the galaxy is in danger." 6 months had passed since humans walked away from the Council, and the galaxy looked like a war zone. Captain Torres stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the aftermath of the battle at New Texas. Burning Zephyrian ships drifted in space around the human colony. The attack had been a disaster for the Council forces. 300 Zephyrian ships had attacked, but they had faced not just 30 human vessels, but over 100 ships from the new alliance humanity was building. Final count, sir, Lieutenant Park reported. "We destroyed or disabled 215 enemy ships. Our losses were 12 vessels, mostly from our new allies." Torres nodded grimly. The Zephyrians had learned the hard way that humans were no longer alone. The Rigelian Collective, the Centauri Free Traders, and 6 smaller species had fought alongside humanity. More importantly, human ships had performed far better than anyone expected. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the surface," Park said. "Colonel Santos reports the colony is secure. No civilian casualties." That was the real victory. The people of New Texas were safe, and the galaxy had seen that the new human alliance could protect its own. But the battle at New Texas was just the beginning of the Council's problems. On Alturia, High Chancellor Groot sat in his office and stared at reports from across Council space. Half the galaxy was in rebellion. The Klaxi had officially joined the human alliance. The Tau Cetians had driven Council forces from their space entirely. Even worse, the Devourers were attacking outer colony worlds, and the Council did not have enough ships to stop them. "How many worlds have we lost to the Devourers?" Groot asked his aide. Tem looked at his tablet with shaking hands. 15 colonies in the past month. They consume everything. The people, the buildings, even the date. Soil. Nothing is left behind. Groot felt sick. The Devourers were ancient enemies who fed on entire civilizations. For centuries, the Council had kept them at bay through superior numbers and coordination. Now the Council fleets were scattered, fighting rebellions and trying to maintain order on worlds that no longer wanted Council rule. "What about our request for help from Earth?" Groot asked. No response, Tem replied. "Human ships have been seen fighting alongside rebels against our forces. They are not interested in helping us." New voice spoke from the doorway. "Maybe it is time to offer them something they actually want." Groot turned to see Chancellor Mira, one of the few moderate voices left in the Council leadership. She was younger than Groot, only 400 years old, and she had always argued for treating humans as equals. "What do you mean?" Groot asked. Mira walked into the room and activated a holographic display. It showed the current state of the galaxy, with rebel territories marked in red and Devourer attacks marked in black. The amount of red and black was terrifying. "Look at this," Mira said. "We are losing the galaxy piece by piece. The old way of ruling through force and intimidation is not working anymore. Maybe it is time to try something different." "You want to negotiate with the humans?" Groot asked. "After they armed our enemies and fought our ships?" "I want to save our civilization," Mira replied. The humans offered us partnership for 3 years. We said no. They offered us cooperation. We said they should be grateful for scraps. Now they are building their own alliance, and it is working better than ours. Tem looked up from his tablet. Excuse me, Chancellors, but I am receiving an urgent message from Admiral Zahn. The Devourers have broken through our defensive line at Sector 7. They are heading for the core worlds. Groot felt his blood turn cold. Sector 7 was only 3 days' travel from Alturia itself. If the Devourers reached the core worlds, billions would die. How many ships does Admiral Zahn have? Groot asked. 47 vessels, Ten replied. The Devourers have over 200. Myra looked at Groot with steady eyes. We need help, human help, and we are going to have to pay their price. On Earth, President Martinez was meeting with his new allies. In the secure conference room beneath the Capitol, the holographic table showed representatives from 15 different species, all of them part of the growing Terran Alliance. Admiral Kess of the Regellians was speaking. Our intelligence reports that the Devourers are moving toward the Council core worlds. If they reach Alturia, the death toll will be massive. Queen Zara of the Klaxi made a clicking sound that indicated concern. The Devourers do not stop at Council worlds. If they gain strength from consuming the core systems, they will come for all of us eventually. President Martinez nodded. That is exactly what our analysts have concluded. The question is, what do we do about it? General Harrison stepped forward. Our fleets are strong, but we have never fought the Devourers in large numbers. The Council has more experience with these creatures. The Council also has more ships, added Captain Torres, who was attending by hologram from his flagship. Even weakened, they still have 3 times as many vessels as our alliance. Admiral Kess leaned forward. Are you suggesting we help them? I am suggesting we consider it, Martinez replied. But not for free, and not under their terms. Just then, Martinez's aide entered the room. Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Alturia. Chancellor Myra is requesting immediate talks. Martinez smiled. After 6 months of silence, the Council was finally ready to talk. Put her through. Chancellor Myra's image appeared on the main screen. She looked tired and worried, very different from the arrogant Council leaders who had dismissed humans for so many years. President Martinez, Myra said, I am contacting you on behalf of the Galactic Council. We need to discuss the Devourer threat. Hello, Chancellor, Martinez replied calmly. I thought the Council did not need human help. I thought you managed without us for millions of years. Myra winced. The situation has changed. We are facing an existential threat, and we cannot handle it alone. What exactly are you asking for? Martinez asked. Military assistance against the Devourers, Myra said. In exchange, we are prepared to offer humans full Council membership with voting rights proportional to your population. The room went quiet. That was exactly what humans had asked for 3 years ago, but it was no. Longer enough. That is an interesting offer, Martinez said. But we are no longer interested in joining your council. Myra looked confused. What do you mean? Martinez gestured to the other representatives around the table. We have built our own alliance. 15 species working together as equals. Why would we want to join an organization that spent 3 years treating us like children? But the DEVOURERES ... double quote, Myra began. Will be dealt with, Martinez finished, by the Terran Alliance. The question is whether the Council wants to join. You sin that fight, or handle it alone. Myra was quiet for a long moment. What are your terms? Martinez looked around the table at his allies, then back at the screen. Full dissolution of the current Council structure. All member species become independent, free to join the Terran Alliance if they choose. All territorial claims and trade restrictions imposed by the Council are cancelled. War crimes tribunals for Council leaders who oppressed member species. That is impossible, Mara said. You are asking us to destroy our entire civilization. No, Martinez replied. We are asking you to stop destroying everyone else's civilization. Your way of ruling the galaxy has failed. Time to try something new. The transmission ended, leaving Myra staring at a blank screen. Around her, other council leaders began shouting and arguing. Some wanted to fight the humans. Others wanted to accept any terms that would save them from the Devourers. But while the council argued, the Devourers kept coming. On the border world of Kepler Station, Commander Sarah Walsh watched the long-range sensors with growing alarm. The Devourer fleet was massive, bigger than any force she had ever seen. Hundreds of black ships moved through space like a cloud of death, consuming everything in their path. How long until they reach us? Walsh asked her sensor operator. 18 hours at current speed, came the reply. Walsh activated her communication system. All ships, this is Kepler Station Command. Prepare for evacuation of all personnel. This is not a drill. But even as the evacuation began, Walsh knew that running was not enough. The Devourers would keep coming until someone stopped them. And, despite everything that had happened between humans and the Council, Walsh knew that billions of innocent people were about to die if the Devourers reached the core worlds. She opened a secure channel to Earth. This is Commander Walsh at Kepler Station. The Devourer fleet is larger than we expected. Even if the Council accepts our terms, I do not think we can stop them alone. We need every ship we can get. On Earth, President Martinez received the message and made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Send word to all our allies, he ordered, and send a message to the Council. Tell them we will fight the Devourers together, but when the battle is over, we do things our way. The old galaxy was dying. What came next would depend on whether the survivors could learn to work together as equals, or whether they would all fall to the darkness between the stars. 2 years after the humans walked away from the Council talks, Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station and watched the most beautiful sight in the galaxy. Ships from 30 different species flew in perfect formation around the massive space station. Human vessels flew alongside Rigelian cruisers, Klaxi hive ships, and even a few former Council species that had joined the Terran Alliance. The ships were not just flying together, they were working together, protecting the trade routes that now connected half the galaxy under the Alliance banner. Chun smiled as she remembered the desperate battle 2 years ago that had changed everything. Fight against the Devourers had been the largest space battle in galactic history. Over 3,000 ships from both the Council and the Terran Alliance had faced 800 Devourer vessels in the space around Alturia. The battle had lasted for 3 days and nights. At first, the two sides had tried to fight separately. Council ships attacked from one direction, while Alliance vessels attacked from another. The Devourers had almost won because the good guys could not coordinate their attacks. Then Captain Torres had done something that shocked everyone. He had opened a direct communication line to the Council fleet and started giving orders to both forces. Council ships moved to Grid 7-7, Torres had commanded. Alliance vessels focus fire on the lead Devourer ship. We attack together, or we die separately. For a moment, nobody had moved. Council commanders did not take orders from humans, and Alliance ships did not trust Council forces. But then Admiral Grax of the Alturians had spoken up. He is right. Grax had said over the open channel, "Follow the humans' lead." That moment had changed everything. Working together, the combined fleets had torn apart the Devourer force. The ancient enemy had been driven back to the dark spaces between galaxies, defeated for the first time in centuries. But the real victory had come after the battle, when the survivors had to decide how to rebuild. Shun walked to her office in the station's command center and sat down at her desk. As the first president of the Terran Alliance, she had a lot of work to do. The Alliance now included 37 different species, and more were asking to join every month. Her assistant, a young Regellian named Kix, brought her the daily reports. The former council worlds of Vega Prime and Tau Ceti have both submitted formal applications to join the Alliance, Kix reported. That brings the total number of applicants to 15. Chon nodded. The collapse of the old council had been swift and complete. Within months of the Devourer battle, member species had declared independence and either joined the Alliance or formed their own governments. The few remaining council loyalists controlled only a handful of worlds. What about the Zephyrians? Chon asked. Any word from them? Kix checked his tablet. Lord Nexus was overthrown by his own people last month. The new government has requested permission to send an ambassador to discuss peace terms. That was surprising. The Zephyrians had been humanity's fiercest enemies, the ones who had attacked New Texas and started the shooting war. But even they were learning that the old ways no longer worked. Schedule a meeting, Sean said, but make it clear that they will be treated like any other applicant species. No special deals because they used to be powerful. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Chun activated her communication system and saw President Martinez's face appear on the screen. Sarah, Martinez said, I hope you are settling into your new job well. Chun laughed. It is harder than being an ambassador, I can tell you that. How are things on Earth? Good. The Luna shipyards are ahead of schedule, and the Mars colonies are producing enough food to supply 6-star systems. But I'm calling about something else. We just received a very interesting visitor. The image shifted to show the main conference room on Earth. Sitting at the table was High Chancellor Groot of the Alturians, looking very different from the arrogant leader who had dismissed humans 3 years ago. He looked smaller somehow, and very tired. Chancellor Groot has a proposal, Martinez continued. He wants to discuss Alturia joining the Alliance. Chun was quiet for a moment. Alturia was the former capital of the Old Council, the world that had ruled half the galaxy for thousands of years. Having them join the Alliance would be a powerful symbol. What are his terms? Chun asked. That is the interesting part, Martinez replied. He is not asking for terms. He wants to join as a regular member species, with the same rights and responsibilities as everyone else. Chun looked at Groot's image on the screen. Chancellor, is that really what you want? To give up your special status and become just another member? Groot nodded slowly. President Chun, my people have learned a hard lesson. We thought strength meant controlling others. We thought wisdom meant making decisions for everyone else. We were wrong. True strength comes from working together. True wisdom comes from listening to different voices. What about the other former council species? Chun asked. Some will never accept the new way, Groot admitted. They would rather rule small kingdoms than be equals in a larger alliance. But many of us have seen what humans built in just 2 years. Your alliance is stronger than our council ever was, and your people are happier. Chun considered the offer carefully. The Alturians had been enemies, but they had also fought bravely against the Devourers. If they were sincere about change, they could be valuable allies. We will put it to a vote, Chun said finally. All Alliance members get to decide whether to accept new applications. That includes yours. I understand, Groot said, and I accept whatever decision your people make. After the call ended, Sean walked back to the observation deck. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the constant traffic around Harmony Station. Ships from dozens of worlds came and went, carrying people and goods and ideas across the galaxy. Kix joined her at the window. "It is amazing how much has changed," the young Regellian said. 2 years ago, most species barely talked to each other. Now look at this. Chun pointed to a group of ships docked at the station. "See that Klaxi transport? It is carrying food grown by human farmers to Tau Sishon colonies. And that Regellian science vessel? It has human, Klaxi, and Centauri scientists aboard, all working together on a new medical project. The old council would never have allowed such cooperation," Kix observed. "That is because the old council was built on fear and control," Chun replied. "We built the alliance on trust and mutual benefit. When people work together because they want to, instead of because they have to, amazing things happen." A new ship appeared on the approach vector, and Chun recognized it immediately. It was Captain Torres's flagship, returning from patrol duty on the Galactic Rim. Torres had been promoted to Admiral after the Devourer battle, and he now commanded the Alliance Defense Force. "Admiral Torres is requesting permission to dock," Kix reported. "Granted," Chun said, "and ask him to come to my office when he is ready. I want to hear his report on the Rim Patrol." An hour later, Torres sat across from Chun's desk and gave his briefing. "The good news is that we found no sign of Devourer activity. They seem to have retreated to deep space after their defeat." "And the bad news?" Chun asked. "We found 3 abandoned Council outposts," Torres replied. "The crews had left behind all their equipment and supplies. It looks like they just packed up and went home." Chun was not surprised. The old Council territory was full of abandoned stations and empty colonies. Without the forced cooperation that the Council had imposed, many remote outposts were no longer viable. "Are we going to claim those outposts?" Chun asked. Torres shook his head. "I do not think we should. The Alliance is not about claiming territory. If species want to join us, they can ask. If they want to be independent, that is their choice." 2. Chun nodded approvingly. That was exactly the right attitude. The Alliance was strong because membership was voluntary. Species stayed because they wanted to, not because they were forced to. "What about our shipbuilding program?" Chun asked. "Ahead of schedule," Torres replied. "The joint shipyards at Rigel are producing vessels that are better than anything the old Council ever built. When you combine human engineering, Regellian, material science, and Klaxi manufacturing techniques, you get something special." Xian smiled. That was the real secret of the Alliance's success. Instead of one species trying to control everyone else, they let each species contribute their best skills and knowledge. The result was technology and capabilities that no single species could achieve alone. A soft alarm chimed, indicating an incoming priority message. Chun activated her communication system and saw the face of Commander Walsh from the border station. "At Kepler, President Shun," Walsh said, "we have visitors. A delegation from the Zephyrian Empire is requesting permission to enter Alliance space. They say they want to talk." "Are they armed?" Chun asked. "Just an escort of 3 ships," Walsh replied. "They are flying white peace banners and broadcasting surrender codes." Chun looked at Torres, who nodded. "Let them come," Chun said. "But keep our ships ready, just in case." As the Zephyrian delegation made its way toward Harmony Station, Shen reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. 3 years ago, humans had been begging for a seat at the Council table. Now, former Council members were begging for a chance to join the human-led alliance.